Now, my hopium is that Israel is, I don't know if this is the case. I have read from Dropsite News that their interceptor missiles for Iron Dome was down into the double digits, meaning less than 100 left, which is very low. If that's the case, then Israel might be worried about continuing the war. My theory, backed up by overwhelming evidence, a mountain of evidence, is that we will do whatever Israel commands us to do. So my hope is that Israel is telling Trump, you know what, maybe we wrap up the Iran war because those drones are getting through and we're running out of interceptor missiles. But no, I'm going to annex Lebanon. And the whole point of this war was to steal more Arab land, Muslim and Christian land. So you're going to let me do that. You understand, you dog? And then Trump goes, woof, woof. So that's the best case scenario for me, that Israel's a little worried about the war and hence they want to wrap up the Iran part, right? But if they're not worried about it, and Netanyahu is saying, if you believe him, that he's not, that he wants to finish what they started in Lebanon and finish destroying Iran. And I see, and this is an important telltale sign. So there's people in American media that support Israel. Approximately 99% of mainstream media does. And for a variety of reasons, they love Israel. They're biased. They're intimidated by the Israeli Gestapo here in America, etc. Right? But they're not Israeli assets. They're just inclined in that direction for the reasons I explained. There are a couple of guys like Mark Levin who are likely, my guess, I don't have any inside information, are literally talk to the Israeli government, and hence you could make the case that they're Israeli assets. So when Levin says, we got to keep going, that means Israel is saying we got to keep going. So that means, no, we're going back into the war, right? So now if you're right, Mario, and this is what's, we do on the Young Turks and why, people like us and dislike us, we'll be super honest about it. And if Trump comes out and goes, no, Netanyahu, I said no, I meant no, and it includes Lebanon, you do one more bombing run of Lebanon and we end all your funding. Oh, then I come back around and go, he made 1,000 mistakes. I still can't stand the guy, but you have to give him a world of credit for that, right? I would. And that would greatly frustrate a lot of people on my side, etc. But all I care about is he doing the right thing or is he doing the wrong thing? He gets us out of the war and reins in Israel. Super happy to say, oh my God, you were right, Mario, and I love it, and I'm super happy about it. But the idea of any American leader, let alone Trump, reigning in Israel, sounds fantastical and comical. Like there's, and one last thing about that, Mario, think about it. Okay, let's say that Israel is sick of the Iran war because it's not going well for them, but they're never going to stop in Lebanon. And Iran is insisting that Lebanon be part of the deal. So how the hell are we ever going to end this war?
So I think we agree on one part and I agree with you, we need to see more before making a statement that Trump is not controlled by Netanyahu. It's even the other way around. Now, I've made tweets in that regard saying, I think Trump is cracking the whip on Netanyahu. And I'm starting to believe more and more that, Trump controls Netanyahu and not the other way around, as we're seeing indications of that, like that statement. But it's also way too early to tell. One statement and a few days ceasefire in Lebanon is not enough. It's not a massive shift in the tide. And we don't know what will happen in a few weeks' time. Will the territory be annexed? You talked about a strike in Beirut. There was actually a strike, so the ceasefire was breached. A strike on a bridge connecting the north of Lebanon to the south of the Litani, a bridge that was struck. Lebanon was rebuilding. They struck that. So there was a strike in Lebanon, in the territory that the Lebanese controlled. And there's clashes in the territory that Israel controls. Now, who's clashing with who, I don't know.
Hezbollah and Israel, but who's initiating it? It was Israel,
obviously, yeah. So, but look, the breaches are very different to the ones we had over the last year, since the ceasefire a year and a half ago. So for me, the reason I think there's a possibility this will happen, Cenk, I'll lay out the scenario. Number one is I feel Israel is not the only reason for this war. We've had the conversation before, China, Strait of Hormuz, the oil, but it definitely played a big role, especially pushing him over the edge. I'm sure you've spoken to people behind the scenes and you probably heard the same stories. There were two kind of groups of people that had Trump's ear. The ones in the White House that told him, hey, this is a bad idea. Militarily, we're going to, they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to strike the Gulf. Don't do this. And then the ones in Mar-a-Lago, including the donors, they're like, hey, this is your chance, from a legacy perspective, to be out on Mount Rushmore, to to be the only president to solve the Iran crisis, the Iran issue. And he listened to that part. He was convinced to strike Iran, maybe to achieve regime change. And I think that will lead to him being pretty pissed off at the intelligence provided to him, mainly from Israel, I'm sure domestic as well. So that's number one. Number two, the sentiment is shifting. We're seeing that in the polls. I've said this a lot on the show. I had a professor from Iran I spoke to. He's like, Mario, you probably know these, Cenk. If you don't know this, you probably should mention it on your show. He's like, Mario, do you know the majority of Americans believe in a one-state solution called Palestine? I'm like, the guy's talking shit. So I check it online. Grok is down now, so I can't check it here. But I check on the polls how many Americans believe in a one-state solution of Israel, one-state solution of Palestine, and two-state solution. One-state solution of Israel, 10 to 15%, or 5 to 15%. Cenk, one-state Palestine, it was 30 to 55%. Obviously, it's, many polls, so it's like an aggregate. And then two-state solution is still the most. It's about 60%. But for about half of young Americans, that's young Americans, 18 to 24, half of young Americans believing in a one-state solution of Palestine, eventually politicians will start to noticing the tide shifting, and they will change their policy accordingly. So if we put these two things together, and number three, he has no choice. What choice does he have with Iran? Off-ramping right now in the Middle East means giving more power to Iran. They will control the Strait of Hormuz. He has to normalize relations with them somehow. And that's his only way to get out of it. Maybe lift some sanctions, do business with them. And that would be catastrophic for Israel. So already the indications we're seeing, the discussions between Trump and Iran are already heading in a direction that Israel would freaking despise. For Trump to say he's open to share a toll booth with Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz, that's catastrophic for Israel. So if you put these things together, they explain why I think Trump will shift on Israel, will turn on Israel. And number two is why we're already seeing indications of it.
Yeah. So let me do a small agreement, a small disagreement, and then get to what I think is absolutely pivotal, where we're all going to be on the same page in a matter of a couple of days, and we're going to see who's in charge, right? So first, this small disagreement is, you said that there's two groups of people. I don't think there are. The people inside the White House almost all work for Israel. Susie Wiles does, Marco Rubio does, and now J.D. Vance does. So I don't think anyone, according to the reporting, almost no one objected to going into the war. In fact, J.D. Vance said, let's go big, not small. So the Marco Rubio has gotten an untold number of millions of dollars from the Israeli lobby. 100% works for them. In fact, there's emails from Dropsite News that show that Larry Ellison put $5 million into Rubio's super PAC after he said he was pre-approved for Israel, and he told the Israeli ambassador that. So that's how corrupted and compromised our government is. So they all told Trump that he was going to be a hero. So that's going to lead to the main question in a second. The agreement I have with you is, yeah, the politics in America now is disastrous if you're supporting AIPAC or Israel, right? So Abdullah Saeed in a race in Michigan has surged from third to first by opposing Israel. Haley Stevens, who was first, is dropped and has no chance of winning because she's like, yay, Israel! I hope America serves them. So everybody's like, yeah, boo, literally. Like at a Democratic meeting yesterday, they were just overwhelming boos because everybody knows that she works for AIPAC. And so now Cory Booker's out there trying to cheerlead for AIPAC. None of that is going to work, okay? So the die is cast politically, and I think that actually informs what the Israelis are doing now, which leads us to the pivotal moment and the question at hand, right? So I think that Netanyahu and Israel realize we're cooked. In 2028, no presidential candidate on either side can win if they're filleting Israel like every candidate in our entire lives has, right? Like, oh, Israel's the greatest special ally. We love them. So go ahead. I dare you to do it. I hope they all do it. They'll just eliminate themselves. 80% of Democratic voters have a negative view of Israel. We don't want any piece of Israel. We don't work for Israel. We hate any politician now that declares their love for Israel. Okay, so good night, Irene. So since Israel knows that, they're in a hurry. We got to do everything now. We go. Bomb Iran, smash them to pieces. We're going to be the only regional superpower. This is what Netanyahu said. He said, we might even be a global superpower after this war started. Annex Lebanon, annex parts of Syria, keep the 53% of Gaza. Grab, murder, steal, grab, right? So that's what Israel's in the middle of doing, and no one in the world can dispute that. So now we're at a point where we're going to find out who Donald Trump is. It's possible that he's an idiot who got talked into it and thought he was going to be a hero, and he wanted to help his donors and, all the other things, the reasons why he loves Israel, right? If that's the case, and he found out, they told me they weren't going to close the Strait of Hormuz. They told me they were going to attack the Gulf countries. Well, they did. They lied to me. They put me in this terrible spot where the markets could crash and oil's so high and it's leading to inflation. Okay, that's it. I'm cutting Israel off and I'm ending this war. If he does that, then your thesis was correct, Mario. And I hope that you're right, not me.